Hello and welcome to the 77%, the platform for young Africans. Here we get to talk about things that matter to you and I. Eddie Micah Jr. is my name. It's great to have you on board. Now, today's show is not an easy one because we're talking about sex trade and human trafficking. Here's what's coming up. We'll meet a brave journalist whose investigation into human trafficking was made into a feature film. And then we'll head to Italy to talk to the real women who were trafficked to Europe and forced into sex work. So it's not often that we get an insight into the world of human trafficking. But in 2013, Nigerian journalist Tobore Ovuorie went undercover to investigate. She posed as a sex worker and put her own life at risk to meet both the traffickers and potential victims. Now, her investigation exposed the brutality of the criminal networks behind the business, and her experience was made into the Netflix film Oluture. Let's take a look.
That's what you want. We do plenty things, Sha, but not be everything. No.
Yeah, enter motor.
Did I tell you that I was a very good actress at school?
As long as you know that this is not the real you and you are only undercover.
The plot of Oluture feels like a crime writer's work of fiction. A young journalist goes undercover to expose the sordid world of sex work and human trafficking in a Nigerian city.
It is now my story.
But the now famous Netflix film was very much based on fact and the real-life experiences of journalist Tobore Ovuorie.
I discovered a terrible world of exploitation. And I mean socio-economic, even psychological exploitation of women. I had to become a sex worker, in inverted comma. I had to become a sex worker and mingling with the sex workers.
While at university, Ovuorie lost a friend who she says died after being trafficked to Italy. In 2013, Ovuorie set out to see how young women are lured into the trade. She went undercover as a streetwalker in Lagos and then Abuja for 7 months.
I was able to follow their everyday lives. And 7 years down the line, I still try as much as possible. Excuse me.
Human trafficking is a $150 billion global industry. Young Nigerian women are promised passage to Europe, but they are at the mercy of the traffickers, encountering rape, sexual exploitation, and forced labor.
Some of these ladies wanting to escape from local prostitution to earning bigger bucks. So I decided to also transit with them into the next level, though in reality I wasn't a sex worker. But in their midst, I was a sex worker. I did what they did. The only thing I didn't do was to actually become the real customer.
Nigeria has a high number of trafficked victims overseas, especially in Europe. Director Kenneth Gyang believes that since its release in October 2019, Oluture has shone a light on Nigeria's criminal trafficking networks.
The film has totally changed people's perspective about trafficking, but what it has done in Nigeria, it has been able to bring forth the conversation around trafficking. And a lot of people, like I remember when the film came out, it was trending for a long time on Nigerian social media. We're just hoping and praying that the conversation will not just die after the film.
For Ovuorie, the memories of her ordeal still haunt her.
I spend every day trying to blank out the memories of the young women I came across, even before the final journey.
Ovuorie could not change the fate of her friend, but she's still searching for the women she met on the street and hopes to tell their stories.
Let's hope she succeeds in tracking down some of the women because their stories must be told and heard. Now, we wanted to find out more about this issue and meet some of the actual women who've gone through this experience. So my colleague, Christine Mundua, went to the city of Palermo on the Italian island of Sicily. The region has a long-standing trade relationship with Nigeria, specifically with its Benin city, which has become known as a base for many of these trafficking networks. Our team met women who were tricked, trafficked, and forced into prostitution. Here's our street debate.
The 77% is in Italy, and we're here to get the story of the slave trade of women from Africa. Over the last 3 years, 20,000 women, all of them Nigerian, many of them minors, have arrived in Italy via the Mediterranean Sea. The United Nations says 80% of them, get that number again, 80% of them are victims of trafficking or are in danger of falling into the hands of victims. We're going to be hearing first from two women who know that story all too well. Princess, I'm going to come to you first. How did you land up in Italy?
I came to Italy through a woman who was a madam in Italy. She was a human trafficker. She came to my state and ate in my restaurant because I was a chef. And after eating, she proposed to me that I cook very well and invited me to her state in Edo State, and also promised me that if I would like to go to Italy, she would sponsor me, and I would be able to work in Italian restaurant as a good chef. And by then, I did not know anything about human trafficking in prostitution states. And they brought me in Murtala Mohammed Airport with the visa and passport of a British daughter.
Right.
And when we got to Turin, they sold me out to one of the youngest madam who just finished paying her debt. She was an ex-victim of human trafficking also.
Right.
That was how I was sold as a slave in the areas of prostitution, and she forced me into sex trade in Turin.
Talk to us about how a typical day was like for you. Were you spending day and night on the streets? What was life like as a sex worker in Italy when you arrived?
Really, it was awful. I could still remember the first day they took me to the road called Corso Margherita. I met a lot of women half naked, and I started crying, and I started praying. I was so confused. It was awful in the streets. I took a lot of threats from the customers, some of the wicked ones beaten up. I got a stab of the knife. I also got a gun threats.
You had gone from having a business in Nigeria. You were cooking, you had your restaurant. You were now a sex worker in Europe. How were you able to do that? How were you able to shift your mindset to carry out the work that was expected of you?
Yeah, it's happened because of the threats, and one of the threats was that they will kill me or my son that they knew. And then I couldn't know anyone that I could ask for help, especially because of the language barrier, that I got involved with one of the clients that knew how to speak English. Then I was able to express myself that I am not a prostitute, I am not a sex worker really, but I am a slave.
Okay, that's Princess's story. Blessing, I'm going to come over to you and start right at the same place as I did with Princess. How did you land up in Italy?
When I was in Nigeria, I was not ignorant of the existence of trafficking because I was in Benin. There are a lot of programs against human trafficking going on. But when these women approached me and told me about this possibility of going to Europe to work in the brothel shop, and when I saw what she said I would be paid, it was very, very encouraging. Then I spoke it out with my friend. I talked it out with my parents. Then I saw it just like as a favor. I've heard a lot of stories, but this woman, the first thing she told me was, we are going to process the visa, you are going for interview. I went for a job interview, I submit my curriculum, and everything went so fine. I had no doubt.
No reason to be suspicious.
No doubt. I was not just really suspicious of the contrary. When I arrived in Italy, I can remember I arrived on Sunday. Then the evening of it, they told me to drop everything that I was having with me, my purse, my documents. They collected everything. Then after collecting everything, they told me that I was indebted with the sum of 65,000 euros. 65,000 euros. But I was expecting to be paid. Then why should I pay the sum of 65,000 euros? Then, but the way the man was talking, immediately I understood that I have fallen into the hands of traffickers. And because I have a lot of stories of so many victims.
Right.
I know many of them that get tortured. I have heard a story of so many of them that were even killed. Then I was really frightened.
Right.
I was afraid. I was really traumatized. Then they told me I was going to the road immediately. I had no phone on me. I had nothing on me. I went to the streets. I met other girls. But I could not really keep quiet that very evening. I kept on asking questions like, why are we here? Is there no way of exit? You see, many of them, they were like, are you not afraid? All these people, they are dangerous. Dangerous as how?
Yeah. Blessing, talk to us about how you were able to follow through with that. You thought you were coming to work in a computer repair shop. Now you have to work on the street. How were you able to do that with a clear mind?
I don't think that there is any girl that will come to Italy that will tell you that she is walking on the roads with a clear mind. Because you see many of them, they are crying. Do you know what it means to give up yourself to a man that you never know? Do you know what it means as a woman to move with more than one man a day? The thing, getting to the road with the way things were, I could not keep shut. I could remember vividly when I asked, can we not report this to the police? What are the Italian government doing about it? Because you can see that the demand curve is very, very high. And that is why the supply curve is also high. Then what are we going to do to shift down the demand and the supply? Because if there is no demand, there won't be supply. Because it's so annoying and so heartbroken that many girls waste their future, their dignity, their life on the streets because there are so many people that want to buy cells, because there is an institution, there is a government that have their eyes closed to the dehumanization of so many women.
What was
on
taken
the street.
from you? What was taken away from you?
Then I believe that very moment, I felt that I was robbed of my dignity. I was angry. I was traumatized. I was despaired. Then because of this, I decided I felt just dead because it's not what I dreamt of. Because it's not the reason why I studied. It wasn't my hope. It wasn't my aspirations. Then this was the reason why I decided to search for the police station to make reports.
I would like to underline, from my perspective of prosecutor, that the two stories you have been told are not just story. I have faced more than hundreds of cases of human trafficking, and there's like a trick mirror, because all the girls are told they will work as waitress, they will work as hairdressers or as saleswomen. They look at the Facebook and see all the pictures of their friends who are in Europe, and they see winning pictures. And all the traffickers approach is friendly, is I will take care of you, do not have to think about nothing, I will provide to you a home, a house, a work. But there are not good Samaritan, no one. They are just looking for a source of income.
Right.
So this is to underline, this is not just two story. This is the same story all the time.
Okay. And what is also the same story in a way, and I'll come to you, Maria, is the fact that most of the women on the streets of Italy who are being sold as sex slaves come from one state in Nigeria. I think the number is 94% according to the International Organization for Migration. 94% of these women come from Edo State. You're researching this. Why would that be the case?
Edo State has a big history of migration that started, I think, in 80s when there were quite some Italians present on the ground working in some industries and who married Nigerian women. It's a narrative that is going around. And what happened is that a lot of them brought their wives to Europe. And what they did is started the business. It's one reason. The second reason, there is a lot of mystic things involved in Edo. It's a very interesting community. It's a community that has a long history. It has a lot of ways and possibilities of manipulation, I think.
Are you talking about black magic?
Yeah, although it's present in everyday life of Nigerian people, it's not something specific to their community, but in Edo it's very strong. And the third reason is a dream. And when you have more of your girlfriends going around and then coming back in beautiful clothes, or you see them, then you want to do the same.
Thanks for that. Francesco, I'm going to come to you now because you work in law enforcement. Your job is to catch the people. One of the things that we know is that, and we heard from Princess and Blessing, is that they don't report. The victims don't come and report.
Yes, it's very important that the victims came to us to tell their stories, because they need to trust in our system, in our government, in our law enforcement. They need to trust to the right person when they arrive here in Italy.
Samson, weigh in here.
First of all, I want to say, I want to chip into the question you asked Mr. Francesco.
Yeah.
The difficulties is this. One is the language barrier. Two, in Africa, where we came from, we don't have, it's not a society. When you have a problem with somebody, you go to tell the police. Three, fear. Because one, the madam is there threatening that if you're going to report, the police is going to arrest you. You don't have a document, they are going to deport you. He's threatening that if you report me, I will kill your mother, I will kill your brother, I will destroy you, you swear voodoo. So the whole thing, we create a kind of an earthquake to that very individual mind. He became confused.
Okay, you talked about voodoo. I'm going to come back to you because explain to us this voodoo ceremony that takes place and how it plays into the fear that women have in running away and escaping from this trafficking situation.
Naturally, voodoo was made for the blessings of the land and for the cause of your enemies. It's only functioning psychologically when you have the belief or when you are afraid of something, because the Bible says that fear is a sin before God. So the most important part today is that we need to take away the fear from the victims in order for her to come out of the spell. Without getting out the fear, the victim might not be able to come out. Then secondly, I want to talk about Mr. Francesco, because most of the victims normally denounce their traffickers, but the delay on the sector of these people is too much.
Okay, so I'm going to come to you, Lina, because here's somebody saying some victims do. They come and they report. But it takes so long, the process.
I don't know. In my office, this doesn't happen. In a few months, we are able to arrest. We have been arrested so many people, more than 100 in the last years. In 2018, we had a conviction for 198 years of imprisonment for many traffickers. Okay. So it sounds strange to me because it is something that I don't know. In my office, we are really fast, and we are able to build investigation without the witness statement. The witness, the victims is questioned just when all the traffickers have been arrested, so she feels safe. She is also responsible because she knows that she can lie, she can be silent, or she can tell the truth, but the traffickers will remain in prison. So that's very important for her.
Francesco, you wanted to weigh in, and I will be back to you.
I'd like to add something. First of all, we put under protection the victim. So she is out of the power of her madam.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, so when she started to cooperation with us, she's under protection immediately. After that, we can try to do our best with the prosecutor to try to arrest the traffickers.
Okay. I'm going to come back to you now because let's try and think about the solutions. One of the things you spoke about earlier was the fact that there is demand and supply. We've been told that the state that you come from, its main export is its women, like you. Talk to us about that and why that needs to change before we can stop seeing women coming here and being put in the position you were put into.
I believe that basic economics will tell you that a reduction in demand will lead to reduction in supply as well. Because I believe that the European Union need to be truthful and they need to do the right thing.
But it's not the European Union sending Nigerian women to Italy. So let's talk about...
Allow me to talk. The legalizing prostitution, what does that mean? Legalizing a vital part of a woman to be a tax-paying tax.
But we heard Princess say that this isn't prostitution, that this is slave trade.
Yeah, but when you legalize prostitution, the traffickers, they are very, very intelligent. They are very, very intelligent. You legalize prostitution. Hang
on a second. I think let's go back. But I want to talk about this vulnerable part of the world because I'm not satisfied with the idea that the only solution is from a European law perspective. You have been on the ground. You are going home to Nigeria. You're speaking to young women there. Tell me about what you're telling them so that they don't come here and land up in the position you found yourself.
And we organize seminars in the churches, in the University of Benin, to talk about the risk of human trafficking and to share my experiences as one of the victims and educate the young ones to follow up their education and also educate the mothers to take care of the school fees of their daughters.
So that they don't send their daughters.
So that they will not send their daughters.
Right, we'll come to you.
If in a particular society, if the government does not do what, does not provide a need for the people, and what she said, when they say, you see a girl that is here, that is after 1 year or 2 years, putting fine picture, making fine hair, you know, they thought that Europe is what? Is all.
They think it looks like what you look like now. And Princess,
in reality, it's not so.
Right.
Because, let me finish. Because you see these girls, there is none of them that can stand publicly and say, I'm a prostitute. That is the lack, because they don't want to. That is why you see it is very hard for the connection between the Italian government and the European government with the help of the Nigerian government to battle it. Because no daughter want to say to his family that he's a prostitute yet.
Yeah. So he's saying that the solution is among us. Where is the solution for you? Where's the solution for you?
The solution, I believe that first of all, education is very, very important. Education. Two, legal pathways has to be open because there are so
legal
many,
pathways of migration.
Yes, of migration has to be open. This is where I blame the European Union. You see, many people they applied for visa.
They want a better life.
Yes, they applied for visa. They have this money. They are denied of visa. But there are many agents that can get this visa for them. At the end of the day, they will become victims of human trafficking.
Right. Whoa, I need a solution from Princess. I need a solution from you.
Yeah, I can say that one of the solutions is that we should train our young ones in the way of righteousness so that when they grow, they will never become a victim or a cleanse. That's number one. Then number two, we need to go back to our own country in order to, let's say, collaborate with our government to issue out free education and also give the youth opportunity to get job. Because most of the victims, because they don't have free education and they don't get job.
We'll leave it there. This has been the 77%. We've been talking about the fact that many young African women are on the streets of Italy day and night. We've been told that they're not prostitutes, that they're slaves. We've heard some of the solutions. We're interested to know what you think. Get in touch with us via social media where the conversation continues.
Thanks to Christine and the team for that very insightful debate. And of course, thanks to Princess and Blessing for sharing your stories and for doing all you can to prevent others from falling prey to these traffickers. And thank you guys for watching the show. On that powerful note, we draw the curtains on today's show. But Tell us what you think about the film Oluture and the topic we covered in our debate. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment below. You can also contact us via Facebook or write us an email to 77@dw.com. We'll leave you with some music. Now, this week's song is from Kenyan artist Lioness Africa, and it's called Cry Revolution. Have a good week.
Maisha yetu hali duni, vijana tumeka vigogone. Our lives have no sense of direction. Only Jah knows our destination.